Welcome to the next section, Working with Assets. In this section, we will look at textures and sprites, Sprite Renderer, Sprite Editor, Sprite Packer, Sprite Creator. Finally, we will set up our first game, that is, the Angel Cakes project. Now we move on to the first video of this section, Textures and Sprites. In this video, we are going to learn about textures and sprites, Sprite Renderer, Sprite Editor. To begin, a sprite is an image that can be used as a 2D object. It has only two coordinates, x-axis and y-axis. Therefore, all the graphical components of 2D game development are called sprites. Sprites can be repositioned, scaled, and rotated like any other game object in Unity. You can move, destroy, or create it during the game. Sprites, by default, are rendered directly against the camera. However, you can easily change this if you're using the Sprite Renderer in a 3D scene. They work with the Sprite Renderer, unlike a 3D object, which works with the Mesh Renderer. Aside from sprites, there are other graphical components called textures. These are also images, but they are used to change the appearance of an object in both 2D and 3D. But textures are not objects. This means that you cannot get them to move during gameplay. Saying that, you can create images with textures that animate with sprite sheets or atlases. While sheets and atlases are pretty much the same thing, the subtle difference between the two is that a sprite sheet generally has sprite animations, whereas an atlas will contain images such as tileable textures for the walls and other environmental components. Their purpose is to maximize the space by combining multiple images into one texture, whether for characters or their animations. More generally speaking, when it comes to handling sprites and textures, Unity has various tools that deal with them in different ways and are used for different purposes. Sprite Editor. This is used to edit sprites. This is done by selecting them individually from a larger image, known as a sprite atlas, or by changing their pivot point, and so on. Sprite Creator. This is used to create a sprite placeholder. This is useful if you do not have any sprites to use but want to continue implementing the functionality of a game. Sprite Packer. This is used to increase the efficiency of your project's usage of main memory. It achieves this by packing various sprites into a single place using the packing tag attribute. We will now look at Sprite Render. The Sprite Render displays images that have been imported as the type sprite. There are a number of different parameters within the Sprite Render that allow you to modify a sprite. We will look at them here. The first one is color. Color allows you to change the color value and the value of the alpha channel of a sprite. Next is flip. Flip is what defines the axis that the sprite needs to be flipped on. Then comes material. Material refers to the material that Unity will use to render the sprite. Next one is sorting layer. Sorting layer defines which layer the sprite should be rendered on. Last one is order in layer. Order in layer is the order within the sorting layer. Let's now learn about Sprite Editor. In some cases, you may have a texture that contains just one graphic element. In other cases, you may have multiple ones. In Unity, you can easily extract elements from a single texture by using the Sprite Editor. The Sprite Editor is used to make multiple elements from an atlas or sprite sheet and slice them into individual sprites,